through the women that come through our Women Moving Forward conference, it's like I said on my video, I think the biggest thing that a lot of them get is hope. A lot of women have faced various challenges, whether it's employment challenges, whether it's physical challenges, whether it's, they've had difficult relationships, whatever it is. Our conference is a day of celebration. So we've had it for 6 years. And so we've literally impacted, I figure, between 450 to 500 women's lives.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be awesome. We have a returning guest who is a resilience coach, an accomplished speaker, and author. She works with entrepreneurs, individuals, and corporations such as 3M Canada, Scotia McLeod, and CIBC to do what's needed personally to get where they need to go. Cindy Stradling, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Michael. I enjoyed it so much, and I was so happy that you invited me to come back.
Well, I know that you're probably just going to keep on coming back because I love having you on, and I know our listeners have said they love having you on because you've done so much in your life, and you're just constantly doing new things and bringing more value, and especially to a big part of our audience who are females. We're going to get into that into this episode. You make a really massive difference for a lot of women in business. So I'm so excited. But for those that have not heard your last episode, tell us a little bit about your career background up until this point.
Okay, Michael, I only admit to 25 years in sales. I've been in sales for a very, very long time. I've been running my own training and development and coaching business for 14 years. And prior to that, I sold rewards and recognition. I sold books. I shouldn't call them books, binders and presentation packaging. And, the truth is we're all in sales, no matter how you look at it, whether we formally go into sales, you're going to go out to, take your bag and go out and sell something or get on the phone and try to sell something. It's something that is becoming more and more, to me, prevalent to everything that we do, is as long as we're influencing people, as long as we're sharing and we're, wanting people to come to our side or an agreement with whatever is going on, it's really, I think we're all in sales. And I'm just finished reading the book To Sell is Human by Daniel Pink. And it really, when you think about it, you're in sales. Your bookkeepers are all in sales. They're always selling their ideas. They're selling their services. They're selling their ideas to their kids. And so I'm really, really excited to share everything that I've learned over the years, which is I've done a lot of training. I have my CSP through the Canadian Professional Sales Association. I'm actually also one of their certified trainers. I've also got my certification through Erickson College for coaching. And that, as you know, is one of the ways that each and every person can excel and go beyond wherever they think they can go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've really made it your career in terms of helping yourself be a better salesperson, but as well now helping so many others. And I love how you've brought all of your different experiences together, whether it be the coaching, the selling, the presenting. I mean, you're an accomplished, award-winning speaker as well, but you're bringing all of this to now delivering and helping women actually excel in sales.
Yep, 100%. And I don't want to say that men are better or women are better, but I think from an empathy perspective, I think that women generally have and this is a generalization, but women in general have just more empathy when it comes to consultative sales, when we're talking about consultative sales. And women often don't even think about sales as a career, to be honest with you. And so when I start to talk to them and they see the freedom, there's so much freedom around sales and there's so much opportunity to advance and make a great income, they open right up and they really take it to heart. And a lot of them have taken my course. The last program we ran, one of the girls literally changed her whole career. She said in 10 years in business, she hadn't done any active sales training, and she said actually, she quoted it, calling it a game changer. And periodically she still sends me emails, I can't believe I did this, I closed this. So it's really about having the confidence. And I think that for women, and I know that through my conference and through just my own personal development, sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit that we can do a lot of things, not just sales. And I think that it's through, professional development and training and coaching that people can actually do whatever they want.
Yeah, which is exciting. And, for our listeners, it's likely one of those areas that it comes up and it's like, probably that. I'm not that good at it, or I don't want to do it. But when you start to talk about, wow, what if you just improved a little bit, the impact that would have on the bottom line, on the satisfaction of the work, I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
I've known you for a very long time, and you've always been someone who's doing great work, and you've spent a lot of time in the last several years inspiring female entrepreneurs with your various programs. Now, recently, your work with TD Bank, they actually surprised you with a gift to your organization of $50,000. Tell us more about that.
Well, I have to tell you, that was a total and complete shock. TD was running a national campaign, and they were recognizing local heroes. And I didn't even realize I was nominated. I was just ended up in a conversation with my bank manager and her boss, and there was 4 people come in the room, and they started asking me questions, and I qualified. And so what they were looking for was people that make a big difference in their own community. And, through the women that come through our Women Moving Forward conference, it's like I said on my video, I think the biggest thing that a lot of them get is hope. A lot of women have faced various challenges, whether it's employment challenges, whether it's physical challenges, whether it's, they've had difficult relationships, whatever it is. Our conference is a day of celebration. So we've had it for 6 years. And so we've literally impacted, I figure, between 450 to 500 women's lives. And they walk away feeling more confident. They take on new jobs. One lady in particular, she was coached by one of our volunteer coaches, and she worked for the government. I don't remember exactly her position, but she moved up 2 levels and was actually able to buy her ex-husband out so she could keep her kids in the matrimonial home. So stories like that are just so inspiring, and that's what I love to do in all that I do. So whether it's the Sales Edge training program, whether it's the Women Moving Forward, whether it's the work that I do with the Scarborough Women's Center or Women's Place, the YWCA, it doesn't matter. For me, I get the greatest joy out of sharing something maybe that I've learned and see someone else excel. I think that that's the greatest gift to anybody, is to be able to contribute to someone else's development.
It just gives me goosebumps hearing you talk about it. And, I was just thinking about you the other day, and I thought, you're the type of person that if I were to explain to somebody, well, what's Cindy like? You're the type of person that's really just out there looking to help people as best you can. It's like delivering value to people everywhere, whether you're being paid for it or not, you're always delivering value. And I think such a refreshing. I think that's probably why we've been friends for so long, and why I just adore you, is that's the kind of person that you are, is you're just looking to make a difference in the world any way you can. And so you've worked really hard to get there. You've had ups and downs in your life, and now you're giving back to people that maybe are in a down place in their life, and you're helping them lift up their lives.
And you and I are both on the same page when it comes to, you're the same way, Michael. You've got a big heart and you deliver beyond value. I know that when you first started coaching, you coached one of my good friends and it changed his life. So, and you were getting paid very minimal amount of money, so it wasn't about the money at that particular time. So I think we're cut from the same cloth. And you were like that with your customers too, that, it's not about selling to them, it's about actually contributing to their lives so that they have freedom to be able to do the things that they want in their lives, and their business is a vehicle to do that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for saying that. It's always nice to hear the words, but this is more about you in this podcast interview. But it is so interesting, and that's all of our listeners. I mean, often forget that they're doing something so honorable, which is helping small business owners get more clear and empowered around their finances. And when they do that, it makes a big, big difference. In fact, probably have no idea how big that difference is. So, it's along the same train of thought in that you're helping the community. And that's, if you're doing that and you're making a living doing it, well, my goodness, what a great place to be. What a wonderful opportunity that every day a bookkeeper can wake up and be able to help small businesses be stronger. I mean, it's just, I love it. And I love helping. I love that my life is completely designed around waking up and all I have to do is figure out how to help bookkeepers be more successful in their business. So it's cool. Enough about that though. Let's get into giving them some things that it's going to really help them rev up their own sales. You have a program called the Sales Edge, and I love that name. And it's a 3-day sales training program. Tell me some of the content that would be useful to our community to take up their sales and really get their own sales edge.
Well, I partnered with my sister on this one. She retired a few years ago, and she has just as many years of experience and training, and she just is excited. And we're cut from the same cloth. We both really want to help people and help them make a difference in their lives. And when we designed the program, and I've done tons of training, as you know, for other different companies at schools. And the one thing I believe, and Susan believes with me, is the foundation piece at the very beginning is the most important part. So we spend a good part of the first day on mindset and understanding some of the memes and even the vocabulary around sales that give people that yucky feeling that they don't want to do it. And when we can have them shift, when they really get their value and they really get that they can make a difference for their customers, it changes everything for them. It's like they're really excited to pick up the phone or send the email or whatever it is. And I think that really, getting down to listening, like actually that's a couple of the exercises we do around really, really listening. Like, you remember Global Ears listening when we were in coaching? So we have them actually do that, and with their body language and things like that. We help them with their communication, even their tone of their voice. Like if their voice sounds really tough or too high and squeaky, and we work with them on a very personal level, and they walk away with everything is so customized and so personal to them. And I think that's what helps them have the confidence, because they create it with us. We help them create it together. But it's based on all of the principles and our processes, but it's all customized so that people walk away. I think it's like anything. When they became a bookkeeper, or you become anything, when you're first learning, it's that whole unconscious incompetence thing. And as you do things and you get repeating and repeating and repeating, you actually get it to become unconsciously competent. So you start doing things without even realizing it. And we all know there's no growth without coming out of your comfort zone. So if you're staying in your comfort zone, you're doing what you're always doing, you're going to get what you've always gotten. So we really work in that area that we push people, not a lot, but push them baby steps to get outside of their comfort zone, to try things on. I'll give you a perfect example. So when you do a call to someone that you've never, I don't even like the word cold call, but you call them out of the blue, call it a cold call if you like. And in the old days, we used to ask them if it was a good time. Well, the truth is, it's never a good time when you're calling in someone and it's unsolicited. And if you call them, ask them if you caught them at a bad time, I've done it unanimously. There's been nobody ever, ever, ever say it was a bad time. Even one lady getting on an airplane, for crying out loud, she said, no, I got a couple of minutes. There's just something about it as human beings. We want to be able to support each other at a very fundamental level. And almost everybody, in fact, everybody has said, I've got a couple minutes. And that gives you that little window of opportunity. You may not only get 1 or 2 minutes with them, but then if you can talk about value, ask them a couple of really good questions to find out if they'd be a really good prospect for you, because they may not be. Not everybody's going to be. But if you could strategically set that up, that when you did speak with someone, you get that first initial foot in the door, which is sometimes the hardest part. Then you've got an opportunity to continue the conversation at another time, whether it's a meeting or sending more information or whatever that is. So we'll fill it with all kinds of tips and tricks of things that, I don't even like the word tricks, techniques that aren't the sort of the status quo. And most of the people that have taken the course, I won't say everybody, because people still get challenged by some of the things, and we work with them, and then some of them have hired us for coaching afterwards. But the most important thing is they walk away, and I said it before, is confidence, that they can see and they know if they do this repeatedly, there's going to be confidence, because there's a right way and a wrong way to do everything, right? And so it's really important that they have a process, that they follow a process, but everything, their verbiage, all of that is customized to them so that it comes out natural and authentic. We teach them a little bit about scripting, but it's more about asking the right questions to get the information to be able to give them the right answers.
As you're speaking, I'm thinking, like just this whole tips and tricks as well. Like it's common that we say tips and tricks. I mean,
yeah.
they are tips and tricks, but at the same time, another way to think about it, I have a very close personal friend who is a master martial artist. And when I say that, most people think of like Bruce Lee, but he or like Chuck Norris, or maybe people won't even think of those people, but you think of like fighting and like, knives and all these crazy things. And he is actually the artist of that kind of work. And he teaches people. You could call them tips and tricks on self-defense and as well just these sorts of things, but really it's artistic movement that he's doing, and it's like a dance. If you were dancing with somebody, there would be moves that you would learn, and you would practice those moves, and you'd get better at those moves, and you become more eloquent on your feet with those moves. It's no different, I think, from what you're teaching. You're teaching people moves, and you're allowing them to incorporate those moves in with their natural way of being, what they would normally sound like or say, with a few tweaks and a few modifications, so that at some point, through practice, through doing it, you actually are eloquent at it and have a really high result, like a desired result out of all of that work. I think that's the beauty of what you do, is it's not just, oh, hey, go do these things. No, it's go try these things, apply them, do the same thing, learn a specific methodology that works, that produces a consistent outcome, but make it custom or bespoke to yourself. The more you do it, the better you're going to be at it.
100%. It's really about creating curiosity with each other. Like when you're talking to a client or a potential client, it's no different than if you met them at a dinner party. You ask questions, you start to learn about each other. Just take all the stigma out of it. That's what we really work on, is that it's as natural as breathing.
And that's what I like to hear. And I think that's inspiring and exciting for our listener, because if it's definitely one of those areas that we've spoken to and surveyed. We're in the thousands of bookkeepers. We understand one of those things that comes up is finding clients, selling. It's a challenge. But the exciting part is that when you do something, it's not like there's some magical thing that needs to be done. There is a process. There are ways of doing these things. And if you get in and learn the way, and you commit to doing it, and you do it a little bit and a little bit more and a little bit more, it becomes natural. And if you can do that, well, that's a competitive advantage against the marketplace. And That's exciting.
Yeah, For sure. And like I said, once they've done it once or two, nothing feels better than when you've tried a new technique and it works. It's like so uplifting. You can't wait to do it again.
So I completely agree. So let's do this. Let's focus on one of the areas of your 3-day program and arm our listeners with one thing that they can do differently today that's going to impact the way that they're selling out there in their lives. What would that be? What could we pick?
Well, I think one of the biggest things, and people are really surprised when we talk about it in the course, is the objection handling. So there's so many unspoken objections usually in the sales. And I won't say a percentage because I don't know for sure, but sometimes the objection is in our own head. And so we come into a situation where they won't buy, or there's too this, or there's too that. And my sister has a saying, don't be the buyer and the seller. And I think that, you need to be prepared for objections. Objections are just part of the process. In fact, if someone's just sitting there nodding their head and not having any dialogue with you, highly unlikely they're going to engage with you. But if they're asking questions and they're posing, an objection, now some people will be an automatic no matter what. And then what you need to do is then you have to understand why they're saying no and what they're saying no to. Because sometimes it's not you. And then never, ever, ever take it personally. It's not about you personally. At least I don't think it's ever about them personally. So the thing is, a lot of the times what we do is teach people, and we do practice scripts and we do role plays, is actually putting the objections up front. So the time and money are the biggest ones. So if time and money are the biggest objections in you speaking with someone, then at the very beginning of the conversation, say, it's pretty typical that people don't have the time or the money to spend on a program such as mine, as an example, if I was selling you my program. I say, but Michael, could we just for a couple of minutes just explore what it's all about and the value you take away, and we'll put this back on the table, but let's just take a few minutes and just put that off the side. We'll park that, and then we'll look at it later. Nobody has ever said to me, no, we're only going to look at price right now. So what they'll do is then you show your value, because people buy value. If everything was ever sold on price, there'd be no premium products.
That's right.
So if you can show value for whatever it is that you do, and for bookkeepers, I know for my bookkeeper, it's like peace of mind. Like if I get something from the CRA, I don't worry anymore. I just take it to them. You know what I mean? So I've got that backup. I've got that confidence. But if I didn't have someone to trust, then I'd be just someone who would be confused. I'd spend a lot of time with the phone and whatever. So I think from a bookkeeper's perspective, when they really get their value and they really get what they even save in terms of time and effort and all the things that they can take care of for their clients, like money and time shouldn't even come into it.
No, it'll disappear. But what I love about the leading with those objections is that if we know that they are one of the most common objections, then we know that it's likely the person they're sitting in front of has that objection. And if it's not addressed, it's in the background the entire conversation. And in fact, you will not get full listening from someone because it's in their listening right now is they're thinking about, eventually I have to ask about price and I have to, time and whatever the objection is, that's what's there. So they're not fully present with the conversation with you. So even if you are demonstrating value, they're likely only getting a percentage of that, the communication because they're still hung up on price or whatever it is. I love how you worded that out where it just sort of parked it. And what it does is now in that situation, I guarantee you that there's a whole new level of comfort for the person that you're sitting with because they feel like they've been heard. And it's like, it's magical because they didn't have to do anything. They didn't have to really say much. It's really just, yes, that is an objection. Okay, let's park that. We're going to come back to it. And then it could be forgotten. It's like, kind of like, oh, look, they're out the window. That's gone by. It's like forgotten. So that objection could completely disappear because now they're going to be lost in your value.
100%. And the thing is, too, let them know if this doesn't work for us, well then, basically have it a no-risk situation. That's one of the things that we encourage people to do as well. And I say that to my clients all the time. You know what? I may not have someone that's a fit for you right now, and if that's the case, I will recommend you to somebody else. It just takes it out of the way. And the thing is in your own head too, because sometimes we come in and we think, oh, will they have the budget, or will they have this, or will they have that? You know, just go with the intention of delivering value.
Yeah, let's go back to that a bit, because I want to explore that a little bit more for our listener, which is this whole concept of having these preconceived objections. Why do we have those preconceived objections?
Well, because it's just the way we're programmed, the way the world is. I mean, even just think about sales in general, the memes that have been alive for years and years, like prospect. Who wants to be a prospect or a target?
Yeah.
Right? It's just some of the language around that. Now, we're not in any position to be changing hundreds of years of that kind of language, but when you think about it, that sets up all kinds of things. They may have had a rejection before. Someone might have said no to them before, and they took it personally. What they have to do is look back at what they could have done differently, because I don't ever think that you lose. There's no such thing as failure. You're just learning how to do it differently the next time. And I always say no only means no today. And I've got tons of stories where someone said no at one point, and then there was no need, or they didn't see a need, and then 6 months or a year later, I'm doing business with them.
I love that one.
So it's just to keep that head clear on the value that you're bringing to them. I remember once at a networking meeting, I stood up and I was doing a talk, and one lady come up to me and she said, put her hand up, and she goes, well, aren't you bothering people when you're calling them? Because I talked about my 3x3 process. And she said, well, aren't you bothering people when you call them so often? And all I said to her was, if you think you're bothering them, then don't pick up the phone.
Lovely.
And she come to me afterwards. She's, oh my God, I get that. Yeah, I really get that. I'm bringing that. I'm bothering them, and that's what I'm going to deliver. That's how the message will be delivered, as a bother, as opposed to bringing value. So we have to keep ourselves in check to make sure that we got our own focus, we have our questions, we know the process, and we always tell everybody you need to know what stage you are at in the stage of the sale, because all you're really doing all the way through is earning the right to continue the conversation. And some people, they go right for the sale before they've even created desire. There's a whole series of steps that you need to go through first and gain agreement before you can go to the next one, go to the next one, go to the next one. But some people, they don't even know you and they're trying to sell you. Everybody hates that.
Yeah, that's, really speaking to that sales really is a process, and often people, it's more misunderstanding of sales that causes the problem versus understanding what you're doing. And you've really created a new frame, a new way of thinking about it, right? It's like, if you think you're bothering someone, don't pick up the phone, change the frame,
exactly.
right?
If you're bothered, yeah.
Call
but
with
if
a
you
purpose,
see the value,
right? Yeah.
I joke and I say to myself, not so much anymore because I'm pretty confident when it comes to picking up the phone, but in the old days when I was first starting out, I used to be just as nervous. I used to have all the same things we teach and all the same dialogue in my inner voice and all that. And I remember thinking, I used to switch it around, say, boy, it's their lucky day. I call in them today. And I could just feel my whole energy change.
Yeah.
And not in a conceited, smarty pants way or anything like that. It was just to have me be at the top of my game when I made those calls.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think for a bookkeeper, for one of our listeners, I mean, every single one of their customers has mouths that they're feeding, right? Whether they're staff or their family. I mean, a small business entrepreneur does not have a safety net. I mean, So what a bookkeeper is doing is helping. And not all owners are open to it, but when you find great customers that are open to it, do want to have it, they're creating their own safety nets. They're through financial awareness, better business decisions in their business. And so when you're calling them, like, that's something to put in your head. I'm going to help them create certainty and consistency and legacy in their business that's going to help them feed more families, create more jobs, make sure their family's taken care of, make sure that their employees are taken care of, whatever the case may be. I mean, if you pop that into your head before you call, whether it's calling to sell, follow up on a prospective call or whatever the case may be, or you're calling them to have them do, because selling isn't just about getting them on as a new client. There's also sales involved in having them do the things that you need them to do in order to fulfill on your services, right? That is sales. We often forget that it's about influencing people. And so it doesn't end at having them come on as a client. You continue to sell, to retain them as a customer, to have them do the things that you need them to do so that they get to the results that you need them to get to. So I love that reframe.
Yeah, and that's what we do a lot of, is reframing. And when things come up that are unpredictable, the way people think about things, so we reframe them. How else could you see that? How else could you see that you would bring value? We spend a lot of time on that as well. And we just, even in the course, when people are talking, you hear it in their language. But what about this? Well, we get rid of that. It's yes and. It's that whole yes and. There should be no buts or however. You should be changing your language, because the world occurs in language, as we know.
It does. It does. Well, this has been just wonderful. Let's talk a little bit about your program, when it's happening, and how they can access it, because I really do think that this would be a great fit for our listeners. And so when is the program happening?
It is October 2nd to the 4th, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. It's in Toronto at the Adler School, which is 890 Yonge Street, and that's right at Yonge and Bloor. We specifically chose there because it's right downtown. It's super easy to get to, and includes lunch and snacks. And that's actually, there's, depending on when this is aired, there's a early bird special, and it's the 24th of August. It might run after that, but we're looking at possibly extending it as well. And they just have to go to my website and they can register there. It's at cindystradling.com.
Beautiful.
And go under events, and then go to October, and it's right there.
Well, our listeners are all over the world, so this is one of those things where I can say, if you're anywhere in the world and you want to have a lift in your selling and your ability to influence, this is something that you should get on a plane and go and do. It's a 3-day program, correct?
Yep.
Now, what about for those people that can't travel, Cindy? Do you have anything that you can help people along if they are located somewhere and they can't get to Toronto?
That we're looking at doing webinars at some point in the future. We're not there quite yet, but that's something that we would want to do. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's great. Well, this is, if you're listening and selling, we'll have the link to Cindy's website, and there's all sorts of resources there that you can get connected. We'll have links that you connect with Cindy and have conversations with her as well. But Cindy, this has been so great. Every time you're on, I love giving gifts of gold around your skill set to our listeners. And on behalf of our listeners, I thank you for the generosity of giving us your time.
Oh, and thank you, Michael, and I look forward to coming back again.
Yes, we will definitely have you back. I already can think of a topic. I'd love to talk about follow-up again and go deeper in following up and how much you should follow up and some of the things that come up when you are actually calling and doing this whole sales process. We'll leave that conversation for the next time.
Fabulous. I look forward to it.
Beautiful. That wraps another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.